I've already shown you guys some underrated Mac apps on my channel before, and this time I've got some more. The first app is DynamicLake, and it takes advantage of the boring notch on your MacBook and takes it to another level. It has the basics of a dynamic island app, so it shows you live activities when media is playing, for example Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, or any video both offline and online. With a feature called DynamicLake, you can quickly get info, including weather data, date and time, and events in your calendar. You can drag and drop files onto the dynamic island to temporarily hold the files for later use, or to airdrop them directly, or to upload to iCloud. It even has file conversion options for supported file types, for example from PNG to JPEG or MP4 to MKV. You also get notified when connecting or disconnecting a Bluetooth device, and DynamicLake also moves and integrates the volume and brightness controls to the dynamic island. The best part about this app is that it's super customizable. Before I go in depth with the settings, I want to be fully transparent that the developers of DynamicLake reached out and provided me with a free license so I could test it and show it to you all today. I'm simply here to give you guys an in-depth look at the interface, the options, and exactly how the app functions so you can see it in action for yourself. Now let's continue with the video. Okay, let's now go over the settings of DynamicLake. To access settings, you can either go to the menu bar and click on the DynamicLake icon and then click on settings, or alternatively you can click on the notch and then right click on it and right click on it again, but this time on the clock, and that will give you two options to either quit or go into settings. Let's go into settings. It's gonna load, and these are the settings for DynamicLake Pro. Now I'm gonna start off with the general settings. You have the basics like the ability to launch at login and the ability to automatically hide the notch when DynamicLake is not active. You also get to choose whether you want to add a menu bar icon or not. So if I uncheck this, it's gonna remove the menu bar icon, but if I check it back on, it's gonna add it here. You could also hide the dock icon like I did right here, but if you like me and don't want the icon to stay in the dock forever, you can check this and that won't show up anymore. You could choose to play haptic feedback, and you could choose to use gestures to either swipe down or swipe up to open and close the notch. Now for the notch itself, you can set a quick action or something to do hovering. So by default it's none, so if I go ahead and hover to the notch, it's not going to do anything. But if you want to open DynaMusic, which allows you to see the media player, or you could select DynamicLake, that allows you to quickly glance at weather information, date and time, and the events, or you could choose DynamicClip, that allows you to temporarily store files so that you could use it in another time in another app. For example, I like to keep this none so that I don't accidentally hover over the notch and the dynamic island activate. You also have the ability to turn on close on mouse exit. If I exit the mouse, it's still going to be on the dynamic island. It's not going to automatically hide it, but if you're like me who wants to auto hide the dynamic island once I move over the cursor, you can check this, and now if I move my cursor, it's gonna hide it automatically. You also add the delay duration of hover and the left click lake, which is basically the thing that's going to show up once you left click on the notch. It's by default set to DynaMusic, but you could change it to something like DynamicLake or DynamicClip, and the same for the right click as well. And you also have other options such as the ability to hide notch in specific apps. So if you don't want DynamicLake to show a notch inside a game or Android Studio or any app that you want, you can select it from here so that you don't get accidentally distracted. It also has notch style, so by default this is how it's going to look. It's going to integrate well with the notch on the MacBook, but if you want it to be frosted glass, you could do so right here. It's going to be a completely new different design, and on liquid glass if you prefer liquid glass, and I believe they look best if you have a MacBook that does not have a notch, or if you're on an external monitor, and you could also use a specific style on an external display, and you also have external display options as well. MiniLake, this is basically a smaller version of the DynamicLake, so like this right here. Instead of a drop down, it's going to just stay in the menu bar level, although it's going to be wider, but I prefer the default one, so I have this turned off. And you could additionally adjust the height and the width and etc. Those are the general settings of DynamicLake. Okay, so the next part of DynamicLake is DynaMusic, and this is the one that shows up once you start playing some music. So if I open up Spotify right now and then let's play a song like this, let me do this, it's gonna show up right here. Now by default it's not going to show up like this on the notch, so if you don't have a song playing, it's not going to be in the dynamic island. But even if you have some song playing, it's not going to show up unless you open open the dynamic island. Now, if you're someone like me who wants to know the music progress in the dynamic island and who wants the music information to show up when it's playing, go all the way down to Slim Player here and turn this on. Now, if you play any music, and by the way, I'm saying music, but this applies to any media, so it could be a YouTube video from a web browser or a video or a song that you have downloaded locally. If I play now, it's gonna show up in the notch, and because I have song progress animation turned on, it's gonna show me a little progress bar here. Pretty cool, right? Other customization options will include auto open, so this basically shows up the music menu inside the dynamic island as soon as a new start. You could do a song progress animation, which is the one that I showed you earlier. Music waveform, so the one that shows up here. If I play this, this is the waveform. If you want it, you can enable it, but if you don't want to, you can disable it. And you could also use a pre-generated waveform, so this is like a default one. You could also use your own keyboard shortcuts to navigate between songs. If you like to specify it to whether you want to favorite that song, repeat it, or shuffle, you could do so. The default player, that could either be Apple Music, Spotify, or Tidal. In the music source, you could only source music from Apple Music or from Spotify. So if you have Spotify selected here, it's only going to show the music in the dynamic island if it's from Spotify. But by selecting all, I would allow the music from any sources. So that could be a YouTube video, a movie, not just Spotify or Apple Music. Now the Slim Player, this is what I'm talking about. So if I play it, it's gonna show up here. But if you don't want it to show up, you can turn this off. The sneak peek that allows you to get information with the dynamic island, and for high player details, that wouldn't show you the name anymore. And you have other options like the ability to hide the Slim Player in the now playing app, disable it on full screen, invert the swipes, and other options are available as well. Okay, let's now talk about DynaGlance. This here is DynaGlance, and it allows you to quickly glance at weather information, date and time, and the events that you have in your calendar. This is the summary view, but if you don't like it, you could disable it, and now it's just going to show you the weather and the events. Personally, turn it on. And for clock, you could click on this. That will enable the seconds, like this right here. I personally like this to be turned off. And if you'd like to quickly access setting without having to right click again, you can check this box, and that will give you a little settings icon right here. Personally, turn this off. And below that, just clock settings, so either 12-hour time or 24-hour time, found, whether it's rounded, normal, or monospace, and the date format. And you could choose one depending on which one that you'd like to use in your country. You could also disable and enable weather. You have the ability to change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You can select a city, and you could choose to enable live weather, which would fetch weather information live, although this may have a hit on your battery and CPU usage. And calendar, you can turn this on or off, just like weather summary. And you can choose whether you want DynamicLake to remind you the time of event, 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, and all the way up to 30 minutes before the event. And by the way, the calendar uses Apple Calendar, so if you like to use this calendar feature in DynamicLake, make sure that you have your calendar accounts signed in to Apple Calendar. So the next feature is DynaClip, which allows you to organize and access your files instantly by just dragging and dropping. So I have this file of a Spotify image. Now let's say that I want to send it to a messaging app, but I have something else to do, but I'll still want to remember it, but it's not that big of a task to put it in a to-do list app. So what I could do is to drag this file to the notch, and then here I have DynaClip, Convert, AirDrop, and iCloud. We're talking about DynaClip, so let's click on that, and that would save it. Now to access the files that you have saved in DynaClip, you can select a shortcut here. Let's go with Option Command P. If I press Option Command P on my keyboard, it's going to show up DynaClip, and you can see I have a few files saved there. And now let's say that I want to delete it. I can right click on it, I can show in Finder, move to trash, compress the item, so basically creating a archive, copy it, or I could drag and drop it to the desktop or to another app that I could test. And you have other settings related to this feature, so you can choose the icon size, small, normal, large, or the file method. So instead of just copying it to DynaClip, you choose to move it, although this might be a destructive action. And you might notice that by right clicking on something, you have the ability to click to make a shareable link. By default, it's going to use iCloud, and it's gonna copy the link to the clipboard, but you could log in with Dropbox, and that would allow you to make a shareable copy with a link, and that file that you just shared will be saved to your Dropbox account, and you can even record a custom shortcut to copy a shareable link. The next one is DynaDrop, and it is similar to DynaClip. So if I drag and drop a file, let's go with this audio file. These three options are part of DynaClip. So you can drag and drop it to AirDrop. That will give me the AirDrop menu where I can share it to other people using AirDrop, or I could upload it to iCloud like this right here. It even shows the progress. I can cancel it if I don't want to. And another option is to convert it. So I have an MP3 file, and I could choose to convert it to a WAV format, AVIF, CAF, or back to MP3. And let's go with MP4 right now. Click on the file, and it's going to take me to the place that I have converted the file, which is right here. And it supports multiple file formats. So if I drag and drop a image file into the convert, I can image it to PNG, PDF, and it's gonna save it into the default format, and it should be right here. And with convert options, you have a few settings. So you could choose the output folder. By default, it's the document, but if you would like to add a custom folder where those outputs be, you could choose to. And you can play a completion sound, and you could choose to enable or disable high quality MP3 conversion. Okay, so the next one is DynaConnect, and this basically ends with access to your Bluetooth settings. Can play a sound when a Bluetooth device connects or disconnects, show the device name inside the notch, and show disconnected notifications. Other settings like notify for recommended devices are also available. The next feature is DynaKeys, and that basically overrides the default volume control and the brightness control. So if I have this turned off, the volume controls, they're going to be on the control center by default, and the same for brightness as well. But if I have this turned on, it's going to integrate it to the dynamic island, and it even shows up a notification if the Mac is fully charged, it's charging, low battery, etc. And other settings are available as well as the support for better display. DynaSwitcher, and this is basically like Alt Tab, but in the dynamic island. By default, the shortcut is Option Space, so let's do that. And here it allows me to choose an app that I'd like to switch my window to. Boom, it's like Alt Tab, but it's a part of the dynamic island, and other customization options are available too. Inside notifications, you could get notifications from the calendar. You could also get battery notifications, and you can customize it so that it only shows if the battery is low, or you could completely turn this off, or all battery. You can play a low battery sound, you can play a notification sound, you can show notification previews, you can send feedback animation, you can mute notifications on call, and you could also select the notification duration before it automatically dismisses. And it even supports calls, so you could choose a call notification sound, and you could keep it default or show another one, and you could even show a little audio spectrum like Dynamusic. Another option you have is lock screen, and you could choose the unlock sound to be a custom one, no unlock sound, or from Apple. You could show a day summary, a live weather, and you can select the view style to be normal or weather. I can't show you this right now because I'm screen recording, but if you lock your Mac, go to the lock screen, you're going to see some changes that Dynamic Island does. Timer, you could choose to start an inbuilt timer using DynamicLake Pro, and you can record a shortcut. And those are the customization options of DynamicLake. Moving on to FineTune, which is a powerful app that allows you to individually control the volume of apps and redirect them to different audio output sources. The next app allows you to hide icons in the menu bar with plenty of customization options for completely free. OnyX. It is completely free, and it's almost like my Mac, but with a simpler UI and the basic features of clearing out junk and unused files on your Mac. Alright, that's all that I've got for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more tech videos like this. Until then, take care.